tell you why nobody wants to talk to y'all behind closed doors, because y'all lie. That's just the bottom line. You have done it thus far in this investigation. You have done it this far as it relates to this committee. And every single hearing, y'all spin, spin, spin. I don't know how y'all are still standing right now, because you should be quite dizzy from all the spinning that you're constantly doing when it comes to spinning the truth. You talk about free and fair elections, but you back a guy who we know tried to steal the election. And this isn't about what Democrats have to say. Let me remind you, for those of you that don't know how the justice system works, it's not a matter of the president went in and indicted Trump, but we are talking about grand juries. Grand juries are comprised of American citizens, and the people that have entered pleas of guilty that will be flipping on your leader in a minute, they are Republicans. I do want to point that out. And half of them were Republicans that were handpicked by Donald Trump himself. So, to be clear, whatever happens to your little leader, it's going to be because of the actions that he took. So you can talk all you want to about how January 6th was nonsense, but all of y'all were running at that time. Y'all were grabbing y'all's gas masks and y'all were running to your offices because you didn't know if they were coming to kill you. You should have cared that somebody was there to protect you, but instead you want to play games because you found out that it was your leader that decided that he wanted. Let me tell you why nobody.
Y'all know Jasmine Crockett was coming for all of them. And my girl AOC jumped in too. But, you know, she is 1,000% right. 1,000% right. If you watched any of that hearing yesterday, I know Power 96 watched because he was ready at 4 this morning. He was ready. But she went just totally just ripped them to shreds. She just ripped them to shreds. And she was one epic mic drop is right. Epic mic drop. Look, the thing is, so they're going after Hunter Biden. They have these fraudulent impeachment inquiry against President Biden. They have no teeth to it whatsoever. And so what do you do? What do you do when you want to really, really get under someone's skin? You go after their kids. And they went after Hunter Biden, but it all really ignited. He came there. They didn't expect him to come. They wanted so bad to be able to charge him with ignoring a congressional subpoena. And he had been saying for months, if not more than a year, I will testify before Congress, but I want to do it because initially they gave him the option of testifying in an open forum and in a closed forum. And naturally, he chose the open forum, and understandably so. Would you trust those people, as Jasmine Crockett said, to go behind closed doors? Then they figured we got him. So then they said, no, it has to be behind closed doors. What kind of nonsense is that? They figured we got him. And Hunter shows up yesterday, takes his seat in front of those hateful people, and they didn't want him to testify because it was public. You got questions? He says, I'm right here. And then from Dixie, from the plantation, from the slave master's big house, from where she wants to be, Nancy Mace, the Republican out of South Carolina, had the audacity to criticize Hunter Biden for his quote unquote white privilege. This Lily Child said white privilege. She said that my first question is, who bribed Hunter Biden to be here today? First and foremost, let's break that down for a moment before I go into the rest of her spiel, her disgusting throw up in your mouth type spiel. Who bribed Hunter Biden? How about a couple of days ago, as Jasmine Crockett put it, your little leader was exposed for taking at least $8 million in bribes from foreign entities when he was the president. So that's number one. Throwing rocks and hiding your hand, huh? Then she goes, second question, which wasn't a question. She said, you are the epitome of white privilege. Coming into the oversight committee, spitting in our face, ignoring a congressional subpoena to be deposed. He was there. What do you mean ignoring? He was right there. I'm here. It's like somebody giving you a court date. You standing before the judge, and the judge is saying, you're ignoring the order to appear before the court. What are you afraid of? He showed you. What are you afraid of? That you want him to go behind closed. I wouldn't go behind no closed doors with you either. It has to be cameras rolling at all times. At all times. He showed he wasn't afraid of anything. So Jasmine Crockett unleashed on this trash of a lawmaker. And then, yeah, Power 96 says, what's up with Marjorie Taylor Greene showing Hunter's nude photo? She's one sick Magabilly. Obviously, she lacks a love life of her own. So Hunter turns her on. So she takes the nude pictures and does what she wants. But that's another story, Power 96. But nonetheless, we heard what Jasmine Crockett had to say. The lack of diversity on that side of the house is no diversity. It's diversity, unless you're counting Byron Daniels. I mean, and the guy in blackface. You know, they're used to people in blackface. Clarence Thomas, Candace Owens. Come on, let's be real here. Let's be real. There's no diversity there. And the women in that MAGA cult, they're like these little trained puppy dogs. Whatever the boss, the men, and see, they people need to go after them, because they go after these men who, and rightfully so, who otherwise dominate women, who try to impose their will on women. But isn't that what MAGA does all the time? And no one says a word. No one says a word. These women have to be the most emotionally abused women outside of Black women, of course, because we will never give them that much as Black women have had to shoulder. But nonetheless, Jasmine Crockett went in, and she noted, even from your own side. Remember former House Speaker Kevin McCarthy, who they unceremoniously booted? He described the GOP as looking like the most restrictive country club in America. And Power 96 is right. Byron Daniels is only allowed to speak during Black History Month. And Austin says Marjorie Taylor Greene and Nancy Mace have no proper home training or intellect. No, they have no intellect. That's correct. No, that's correct. But they have the home training. They've been trained to a T, like military type training when it comes to being subservient to the slave master. They're men who are aspiring slave masters, we should say. All of them are aspiring slave masters. Show me where they're not. Show me where they're not. It's just the way it is. And their leader, now he's pulling the whole race card thing, Bertha thing, with homegirl Nikki Haley, who is just as bad as him, but can't see the forest for the trees. But he's pulling it. Oh, she shouldn't be president. She wasn't born in the USA, which she was. Her parents are Indian. They're from India, I should say. I guess Indian is right. They're from India. Said the same thing about Ted Cruz. Of course, Ted Cruz cleans Trump's behind after Trump uses the bathroom. That's how subservient he is. But now he's saying that his biggest rival in the Republican side, who happens to be a racist too, so I mean, look, he's going after her, saying that she was not born in America. She shouldn't be president. He said that about Kamala Harris, and naturally, and of course, he said it about former President Barack Obama. Remember, he went on this whole mission, even long before he ran for president. That whole birther thing. Oh, he was born in Kenya, Africa. If it wasn't for Kenya, Africa, there would be no America. How about that? Obama was born in Hawaii, by the way, as we all know. And I'm not here to defend Barack Obama and where he was born. We know where he was born. He's an American citizen. He was born in America. He's 100% American. He's just as much as American as any of these MAGA folks. He's more American than these MAGA folks. These MAGA folks, they're the ones. They're the ones. It was thinking like them that drove the Native Americans out of here. It's thinking like them, these MAGA folks that had for years, centuries, enslaved the African, refused to let them learn the proper language, refused to let him have any peace whatsoever, raped our women and children, dehumanized us in ways that no one, not even the victims of the Holocaust, no one had ever experienced before and has since as a people. But yet Nancy Mace wants to sit there in all her privilege and glory and claim that Hunter Biden is using white privilege. It's like, it's almost it's exhausting covering this garbage. I wish we had some other stuff to cover that didn't entail the ridiculousness of American politics and what has become. The 20-something Congress members have either left or announced that they are retiring at the end of their term or have taken other jobs. So it shows you that even some of them, and that's on both sides. I think it was actually, the number is actually 30 some odd, because it was 20 or so Democrats and about 11 or 12 Republicans, and said that we're out of here. Can you blame them? And so Jasmine Crockett went in. She says, y'all don't know what white privilege looks like. Yep. You see, you want to talk about a two-tier justice system, and this is the only time y'all have ever referenced it, when this country has a history when it comes to Black and brown folk of having two separate set of rules. We've been talking about this for months now. We had Mississippi Congressman Benny Thompson on to talk about it. Jackson, Mississippi Mayor Chokwe Lamamba on to talk about it. The two-tier criminal justice system in Jackson that they installed, one for white folks and one for Black. It's like having a Black water fountain and a white water fountain in 2024. In 2024. So yeah, nothing she said, Jasmine Crockett, nothing Jasmine Crockett said was hyperbole. Nothing. And then Nancy Mace pulled out the I have a Black friend card. She pulled out the I have a Black friend card. She goes, I used to work in civil liberties. I was on the Civil Liberties Subcommittee. Sure you were. Undermining every progressive thing that was brought your way. She says, I take great pride as a white female Republican to address the inadequacies in our country. She is absolutely evil. Absolutely evil. And then my girl from New York, you know I love some AOC. Y'all know that. She had Jasmine's back. And not that Jasmine needed anybody to have her back yesterday. And she said Nancy Mace, that was a very beautiful speech. Before she lit into her. She made my point about what she did on that Civil Liberties Subcommittee. AOC says that Nancy Mace oversaw the elimination of civil rights, oversaw the elimination of the subcommittee itself. She says, which really kind of gives the whole game away. She says we show up, we give speeches, we give flowery words, but at the end of the day, participate in the structural erosion of the rights and representation of people that are marginalized. Women, people of color, people that just need to see their due process and civil liberties protected in this country. And you know she doesn't hold back either. But Jasmine Crockett, Power 96 said, y'all got to have on. Power 96 says, I have told my 3 white friends don't use me for your 1 black friend. Well, Power 96, if you're the only black friend they have, then that's a problem. That's a Nancy Mace problem. You can't have a white friend you're their only black friend. What's going on with you, man? I mean, I feel good. I have really great friends who happen to be white. And they got other black friends. Power 96 is a trip. Oh my goodness. Well, we got a lot more this morning. But that really, I'm gonna tell you something. It had us quite riled up. That even Greer watched the entire hearings yesterday. She's like, I watched the whole thing. She said, I watched the whole. What are you doing watching the whole thing? Greer, don't you got other things to do? You got to put this show together among the 100 things you got to do, sitting there watching Hunter Biden's hearing. But the question is, and she posed the question for the audience, was Hunter Biden's appearance a stunt by Democrats? I don't think it was. I think Hunter Biden, he'd been saying all along he would appear. He just wanted to do it publicly. He didn't want to go behind closed doors with those people. And look, they were talking about they was going to hold him in contempt. I think his attorneys made that decision. And I don't think they meant it as a stunt. I think they meant it as what it was. He was prepared to testify if they would have asked him questions. He was ready. And they have done Hunter Biden. Listen. From the get-go, they have done Hunter Biden such a disservice. They've done him so wrong. The judicial system has done him really wrong. And the reason I say that, not his drug problems notwithstanding, the reason I say that, and it's not capping in any way for Biden, but the reason I say that is because he had a deal with prosecutors. And that was supposed to be the end of the matter until the MAGA Republicans started burning down the proverbial houses of the courts. And then all of a sudden, the deal was off. You cannot ask the Pennsylvania Supreme Court. Prosecutors cannot make deals and then go against the deal, which is what is happening to Hunter Biden. And after they rescinded the deal, they have added more charges because of political pressure. So they have voted to hold him in contempt. So what that means is that David, you can help me out with that. David Youngblood is our legal viewer. But what that means from what my journalistic understanding is that Hunter Biden will now formally be subpoenaed again to come before Congress by, I would imagine, Capitol Police officers will go, and if he refuses, they will then arrest him. Austin says Dems need to do more retail in your face politics like Hunter did yesterday to fight the Trump cult. 100%. So I think then they'll take him off the jail if he doesn't immediately present himself when they come get him. I think that's the now again, I'm looking for, I know there's a difference in the journalistic understanding than the legal standpoint. So we'll see what David eventually clarifies for us. David Youngblood is always on top of these things. He says, I always say to the person who talks about their black friends, only introduce me to the ones that eat at your dinner table with your family. That's a mic drop. So I'm waiting for you, David, to tell us what happens. In the meantime, let's talk about Keffe D. A judge has granted Dwayne Keffe D. Davis bail, but it's more than 6 times what his defense had originally requested. Davis is under arrest in connection, of course, to the 1996 shooting death of legendary hip-hop artist Tupac Shakur. Last week, Vegas prosecutors argued that he was too dangerous, particularly for witnesses, to be released. They asked the judge to retain him until the beginning of the trial, which is scheduled to start in June. Davis's lawyers asked that he be released on $100,000 bail and house arrest, which the judge said, we're going with $750,000 in house arrest. Now, having said all of that, and he's still in jail right now, they're trying to raise the bond, the bail, to get him out. But having said all that, prosecutors are now saying that Keffe D has been caught on jail audio phone calls, putting out a hit against witnesses against him. Now, they said he called his son and said words, green light, which they interpret means that he's putting a hit on witnesses. Keffe D, in response, says that what he essentially was saying was that he was telling his son to watch your back and to tell the family to watch their back because a hit has been put out on them because of the notoriety of the case. As of right now, and prosecutors said that they are still investigating these audio tapes that they have. They've run them through so-called gang experts in the Las Vegas Police Department, but they are still investigating those calls, and they're gonna see if they will bring further charges against Dwayne Keffe D. Davis. According to a published report, Davis has continually denied that he's given out a hit order. Now we know he's also, though, publicly, and this is the thing, at least 5 times publicly. Good morning, big sister. She's watching. 5 times publicly, he's confessed to being involved in Tupac's murder. He including, I should say, providing the type of weapon that was used. Well, he was on top. This guy in the book, on TV, and of course now he's saying, no. I was not saying that I did it. You did say it. You did say it. You said it a few times. But the question becomes, and his lawyers actually say that it was just talk, make him look big. It seems to me that if you're trying to claim that you killed Tupac, that you'd be more concerned that somebody would be coming after you. But we will see. Now, are they going to be able to raise the $750,000 bail? It'll be interesting. It will be interesting. Maybe Suge and all his podcast from Jail Glory will be able to make enough money to help him raise the bail through his podcast. I don't know. I don't know where he's getting the money from. Who knows? Who knows? Moving down south to North Carolina. Here's another story that will stop. I said no. He said, "What if I did it like OJ?" OJ spelled out how he killed his ex-wife and her friend. He spelled it out. If I did it. Y'all remember that it was a whole special. Remember it was the special was gonna be on Fox, on the Fox channel, but the book was done, and the whole special, they scrapped the special because of the Goldman family. I couldn't blame the Goldman family, but the Goldman family did, which they did seize control of the book. See, it became, and I don't know, you can't. I hate to try and put myself. I never want to be in that position. No parent wants to be in the position of Ron Goldman. But what I never understood with Ron, I saw the behavior of the sisters of Ron Goldman, the victim. Fred Goldman is the father. And I always wondered what was his deal, because it seemed like, and I could be wrong, my perception of it could be 100% wrong. Let me start there. But it just seemed like it became all about taking OJ's money, taking money, just about money. I mean, because remember, they seized his stuff, they sold his stuff. He held on to stuff like the Heisman and stuff like that. And I'm like, man, my thing is, if you killed my kid, I don't know. Maybe he felt like that was the only remedy. But even after getting that $33.5 million judgment, they never got anywhere close to the money, unfortunately. But Nicole's family was quite different, less vociferous about the money than they were about seeing OJ be locked up or something. It was so strange. Fred Goldman's behavior always bothered me. Always bothered me. And there's no question in my mind OJ did it. Oh, I've always said it from day one. OJ killed those people. And then if I did it, proved again, he killed those people. No question. There's no question. But Fred Goldman's behavior always bothered me. And like I said, I don't ever want to know what it feels like to be in his position. And I can't say that I wouldn't do the same. So my behavior might bother somebody else. So here we go. Down in North Carolina. See, and this happens all too frequently. And that's why I have had issues with this. Yes, believe the woman. Without question, believe the woman. You want to believe the woman. But I've always had issues with this idea, as Cyrus Vance really ticked me off a couple of years ago, the former district attorney in Manhattan, when he was on the steps of the courthouse and said just the mere allegation should lead to a guilty conviction. Because we've seen this time and time and time and time again. A black man in North Carolina spent 44 years in prison after he was wrongly convicted of raping a white woman, a prominent white woman. They awarded him $25 million as a settlement. Ronnie Long, now 68 years old, finally settled his life. And here's the thing, they have still not. And I perused and I searched and I dug for this woman's name. But because she's still considered a victim, then they're not releasing the name. They're hiding the name still. But the city of Concord, North Carolina, which is about 25 miles northeast of Charlotte, paid out 22 million of the settlement. And the North Carolina State Bureau of Investigations also added $3 million. And it is the second largest wrongful conviction settlement on record. And as his attorney said, this is a quote from his attorney. He says, "It's obviously a celebratory day today, knowing that Ronnie's going to have his means met for the rest of his life with his settlement. It's been a long road to get to this point, so that's a great outcome." But he says, have we found justice in this case? Absolutely not. No amount of money will ever compensate Ronnie for all that he lost. And the city, in a very rare move, is issuing a public apology to Mr. Long. They're saying city officials put out a statement, "We are deeply remorseful for the past wrongs that caused tremendous harm to Mr. Long, his family, friends, and our community. Mr. Long suffered the extraordinary loss of his freedom and a substantial portion of his life because of this conviction. He wrongly served 44 years, 3 months, and 17 days in prison for a crime he did not commit." They go on to say, while there are no measures to fully restore Mr. Long or to restore to Mr. Long and his family all that was taken from them, through this agreement, we are doing everything in our power to right the past wrongs and take responsibilities. You notice, right the past wrongs? Reparations. See, it's not that hard. Then they say, we are hopeful this can begin the healing process for Mr. Long and our community, and that together we can move forward while learning valuable lessons and ensuring nothing like this ever happens again. And so what happened, folks? What happened? On October 1st, 1976, an all-white jury, To Kill a Mockingbird, an all-white jury convicted him after he was accused of raping this woman. He was only 21 years old when he was sentenced to life in prison. So his attorneys detailed numerous issues with his trial, beginning with jury selection. They said that before jury selection, and we see it all the time, this is called jury nullification at its worst. Before the jury summonses were issued, the chief of police and the county sheriff removed nearly all Black potential jurors. They said there was no physical evidence, more importantly, tying Mr. Long to the rape and the robbery that took place, and that he didn't even match the original description of the suspect that was given by the victim. Look at Mr. Long. You see those pictures up there. This is what the victim described him as: a, quote, yellow or really light-skinned Black male. Does Mr. Long in any way resemble a yellow or really light-skinned Black male? Now, people say yellow. What do you mean by yellow? Now, I got an uncle who's yellow, so he's yellow. He's high yellow. But this guy does not resemble in any way a light-skinned Black male. Furthermore, a rape kit that was collected at the hospital and provided to the police, guess what? And this is one, we talked about OJ. This is one of the reasons OJ was found not guilty. Because remember, they took the blood and then they disappeared with the blood for a whole weekend. Well, the rape kit disappeared and was never found. How is that? It was only in the hands of the sheriff and the police department. And so they said the prosecution's main piece of evidence was the victim's identification of Long weeks after the attack, and that it was the product of a suggestive identification procedure arranged by the police to target Long. There was also numerous pieces of evidence from the scene, including the suspect's hair and 43 fingerprints. None of them, not one, or as my grandmother used to say, near one of them matched Mr. Long. This is, again, y'all want to come at us with this whole idea of guilty until proven innocence. Well, it took him 44 years, 17 days, and 2 hours that this man went through the horrors of being in prison in a oppressive state like North Carolina. And y'all want to talk about, yeah, we should go along with this idea that just because someone is accused, that means they're guilty. No, 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 you can't have it both ways. This has been happening throughout history. This is another reason, folks, they want to ban books. It's another reason why they don't want you to know history. Now, I want to go back for a second because David Youngblood has finally chimed in on the legal side of Hunter Biden's predicament. He says normally when the prosecutor rescinds this is not Hunter. Oh, it is Hunter Biden, but when the prosecutor rescinds the offer to a defendant, it's because the defendant has engaged in additional bad behavior. Here, I believe they're being influenced by politicians. Yeah. Oh, I was looking for the other clarification, David, as far as what happens next after they have voted to hold him in contempt. And how about this? So, in Virginia, history was made yesterday in Virginia. Speaking of, we're going to stay in the realm of politics right now. Dale Scott, the delegate out of Virginia, black man, Dale Scott Jr., Don Scott, I call him Dale, Donald Scott Jr., made history yesterday when he was sworn in as the state's first black Speaker of the House. Now, what makes that interesting, or even more interesting, this guy served 8 years in prison for drug conspiracy charges, on drug conspiracy charges. He was third year in law school when he was arrested. He had drug money, et cetera, on him, and went to prison. Now he's going to be helping to make laws as the Virginia, the Democrats in Virginia, believe it or not, have the majority in both houses. And so this puts Speaker Don in a very powerful position. In fact, it makes him pretty much the second most powerful man in Virginia behind the governor. But he went from prison to now holding the gavel in the House. And after he left prison, he went back and finished his law degree and turned, because he said something that was very interesting. I thought it was very interesting. He said he still thinks about that day years ago when he was sentenced, and the screeching yelp. This is what he decided. The screeching yelp he heard from his mother, who was in the gallery there in the courtroom when the judge sentenced him. He said he had never forgotten that and will never forget it. So David does clarify now. He does, he says if the Congress votes to hold him in contempt, it gets referred to the Department of Justice. Then the Department of Justice makes a decision on whether to charge him. Appreciate that, David, as always. All right, so under the category of you better know who you marry nowadays. You better know who you marry. You want to marry somebody, they say, in sickness and in health, till death do us part. Good, bad or worse, good, bad, or indifferent, right? Well, how about this Florida lady? Well, Florida woman. Check what she did. It makes my nose itch. Oh my gosh. So this woman, she because then you have kids like this. And who was it? Robin Harris, the late great Robin Harris, said that if you marry an ugly woman, you're going to have ugly children. You don't believe me? Follow an ugly kid one day home and see someone ugly answers the door. And so this man must have married a mean woman because they got a mean daughter. She punched her father in the head during an argument that took place on the holiday, Christmas morning holiday, right? Why did she punch him in the head? Well, homeboy needs an oxygen machine to help him breathe. And she said it was making too much noise. So she punched him in the head. According to an arrest affidavit, Christina Granados admitted striking her father when questioned by cops who responded at around 5 a.m. to the Lake, Florida home that they share. She told officers that he argued with his daughter about the oxygen machine making a beeping sound. And then she punched him in the left side of his head. Police said that the pair were regularly quarreling over his oxygen machine, and due to the way her father was speaking to her. She was arrested on battery charges on a person over 65, which is a felony in Florida. She was later released on $1,000 bond, and she's scheduled to appear next week for an arraignment. In the meantime, she's been ordered to have no contact with her father. And why do we do that? Power 96. Why do black people take on now they're not black now. They're, well, I don't know what they are, Power 96, but why do we do that? We take on do white folks do this? I hope they wasn't white. Power 96, please don't let them be black. Why do we do that? Do Spanish people say, I hope they're not Hispanic? I hope they're not, whatever. We always do that. Please, Lord, don't let them be black. She's as good as black. Don't let them be black. Why do we do that? Somebody explain that to me. Why do we do that? Black folks gonna act up, white folks gonna act up, Asian folk gonna act up. It's just nature. Austin says no happy Father's Day this year. No, it probably will be, because look, that she'll get an attorney to kind of drag out the pre-trial stuff. Then she'll hook her father up with a new oxygen machine for Father's Day, and then he'll say, drop the charges. And as he'll gather as much breath as he can to say, drop the charges. That's the most hilarious thing. Why are you gonna hit your father? My daughters would never do that to me. They might want to do other things, but punch me in the head. They like, we're tired of you, Dad. I know they get a little concerned, like when we get older or something like that. They're probably concerned about their mom. Like, mom got to put up with that. She got to put up with that. But I don't think they would beat me up. They feel sorry for their mom. They'd be taking their mom to to the old lady breakfasts and stuff, and leave me home and give me a sausage or something as punishment. That'll happen. Angela Connolly said, careful what you laugh at, nursing home bound. I'm telling you, right? I don't think they put me in a nursing home either. I think they feel like I'd be too much of a menace. And so they would leave me at home to just be miserable. Grumpy old man. They would be taking their mom to like Aruba and stuff. You want a trip, Dad? We'll take you to a trip. They'll take me to a McDonald's and sit me on the bench with these other old folks. We pulling out our AARP cards to get a discount on a McBurger or something. Come on, Austin. You know I'm not doing cereal. I think that's the most repulsive thing. And they get on me about that too. Milk. You cannot eat milk around me. Drink it or consume it in any other way around me. They know that. Now Austin is trying to goad me into getting upset. So, would you like to buy R. Kelly's home? It's up for sale. The 4-acre. Power 96 said he's burning his money if they put him in a nursing home. So R. Kelly's 4-acre, 19-room estate in Chicago is on the market for $3.5 million. This was the home that he named the Chocolate Factory. Now it makes you want to gag when you hear that he named this home the Chocolate Factory. It's also the home where some of his young girls he was convicted of holding them hostage and doing foul things to them. R. Kelly's never getting out of prison. You know that, right? You know who owned the home after R. Kelly, though? Was Rudolph Isley of the Isley Brothers, who died last October. And now his wife is selling the home. It's located in the Olympia Fields Country Club section. It was built in 1997, so it's a really pretty new home. R. Kelly lost the home, of course, in 2011 to foreclosure. But from 2004 to 2010, it was the scene of the crime, where he had a studio there called the Chocolate Factory. I mean, this guy, anytime we mention what he, and I know Jennifer Bonjean, the great attorney out of Brooklyn, is still fighting for R. Kelly, because a lot of people believe, well, there's still a lot of people, not as much who say otherwise, but still a number of people, how about I say it that way, believes that he is innocent despite everything. And Jennifer Bonjean is still fighting the good fight. And Power 96 says someone from the Epstein list will buy the home. But this is the home that they say he had these strict rules. He required the women to stay in their rooms until they were told that they could leave. Confiscated their IDs upon entry. Had them sign non-disclosure agreements. And non-disclosure agreements are a joke. They're a joke, especially in this case, because they were minors. And they don't work if there's criminal conduct. And according to authorities and prosecutors, there was plenty of criminal, and a jury, there was plenty of criminal conduct. And of course, surviving R. Kelly, that was really what got the ball rolling on the prosecution, as we know. So even though the home has been renovated, the question remains: who would want a home with this dark history? Remember, it wasn't until Michael Jackson died in 2009, and he had stopped living at Neverland in 2005. But it wasn't until last year, 2023, that Neverland was officially sold. It had been on the market forever. And they gutted the place. And if I'm not mistaken, one of the original owners of that property repurchased it after over a decade of it, really nearly 2 decades of it sitting almost uninhabitable. So R. Kelly's home, actually, it didn't sit long, right? Because Mr. Isley bought it, renovated it, and lived there until he passed away last October. And now his wife is selling the property. $3.5 million. Not a bad deal. Not a bad deal at all. If you can get past the fact that R. Kelly lived there and what he did there, or at least alleged to have done there. So I don't know. I don't know. Power 96. Maybe you can go under the mattress and consider buying R. Kelly's home, and then we can have a big party over there with Keith Murray. How about that? Have Keith Murray playing the music. All right. That's our story for today, folks. We appreciate you all for joining Let It Be Known, Black Press of America's flagship digital show. We'll see you tomorrow.